Greetings. Today I will pick up the story begun with Magna Carta of 1215 and continue with the marriage of King Ferdinand of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile. The marriage of the two sovereigns that would set Spain off on its course of colonial empire and world dominance began in a swirl of political intrigue and a secret elopement. Isabella I of Castile, April the 22nd, 1451 through November the 26th, 1504. The daughter of John II of Castile and Isabella of Portugal. Isabella was native to the city of Madrigal de los Altos Toros, Avia in west-central Spain. She had a brother, Alfonso. This was a tumultuous era in Spain's history, and resources were stretched thin, even for those of royal blood. Second in line to the throne behind Alfonso, her half-brother Henry ruled as King of Castile. Isabella's living conditions as a child were at times there was little food and sometimes the household struggled to find proper clothing. The royal household suffered an almost continuous shortage of money. Isabella received a good education in spite of the living conditions. Henry had become King of Castile on July 21st, 1454, 3 years before Isabella's birth. Political marriages. Henry plotted advantageous marriages for his young half-sister at an early age, betrothing her to Ferdinand, the son of John II of Navarre, when she was 6. This betrothal was short-lived, but Henry continued to plot. Henry married Blanche II of Navarre in 1540, but the union produced no children as Henry was unable to consummate the marriage. Henry blamed this condition on a curse, one that affected only relations with his wife. Pope Nicholas V annulled the marriage, paving the way for Henry's eventual marriage to Joan of Portugal. The union produced a daughter, Joanna, in 1460. Political enemies of Henry continually questioned Joanna's parentage, claiming Henry did not sire her. After Joanna's birth, Henry summoned his 11-year-old half-sister to court, where her living conditions improved. Civil War. Henry named Joanna as his heir, but conflicts among the nobles concerning her paternity caused Henry to compromise, naming his half-brother Alfonso as his heir. Civil war began when Henry reneged on this arrangement and began supporting his daughter again. The rebelling nobles conducted an insurrection during which they named Alfonso king. This dispute ended when Alfonso died suddenly of a disease, though many suspected poison. At his death, he left his throne to his sister Isabella. Avoiding civil war, Isabella and Henry agreed that Isabella would be his official heir. She could marry only with his permission, but he could not force marriage on her. Ferdinand II of Aragon, March the 10th, 1452, 23rd, 1516. The son of John II of Aragon and Juana Enriquez, Ferdinand was native to Ceuta Palace, Sos del Rey, Catalico, Kingdom of Aragon. John saw to it that Ferdinand received an excellent education, well grounded in the humanities and government. Ferdinand was an ardent supporter of the arts and music. John named Ferdinand his heir in 1461. He would become King of Sicily by virtue of his father's alliances in 1468. Marriage to Isabella. Henry had continued to find a political union for Isabella that suited his needs. He betrothed her to Pedro Giron Acuda Pachero, a union that repelled Isabella. Thankfully for her, Pedro died while she was traveling to meet him. He attempted to marry her to Alfonso V of Portugal, a union she rebuffed. She made a secret promise during this time to marry handsome Prince Ferdinand of Castile. He was 17, she was 18. Isabella and Ferdinand were second cousins by virtue of a common descent from John I of Castile. Thus they would need a special papal dispensation. Ferdinand had his supporters prepare the document, which later turned out to be forged. Ferdinand crossed into Castile in disguise to meet Isabella, who had slipped away from her brother's court. They married on October the 19th, 1469, at the Palacio de los Vero in the city of Valladolid. The union would last until Isabella's death in 1504 and produced 5 children. Isabella succeeded to the throne of Castile in 1474, Ferdinand to the throne of Aragon in 1479. Neither monarch had any political power in each other's realm. However, they ran their kingdoms with united goals. Each kingdom retained its own laws, However, their conquest of the remainder of Spain when they drove out the Muslims, completing the Reconquista in 1492. That story will be part of the next edition. These stories are part of the author's book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 to 1664, which is part of the Timeline of United States History Series by Paul R. Wanning. Readers can find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and other online retailers, both in softbound and ebook copies. It can also be ordered directly from my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com. You can contact me at mossyfeetbooks@gmail.com. You will find this story and many others in the book.